You, knife man?
Best. Ever. Oh, Sally. The man attacked me.
The film kicks off with Barney Ross and his crew, Lee Christmas, Gunnar Jensen, and Toll Road, freeing Dr. Death, a skilled knife expert and team medic, from a military prison on a moving train. Once out of his cage, Doc Death swiftly eliminates all the guards, speeds up the train, and crashes it into the prison wall. While wrapping things up, Christmas urges Ross to leave him behind, but Ross refuses. He then calls Doc Death to join them in a helicopter. As they wait for Doc Death to jump onto the aircraft, he bombs the prison and escapes. Later, Ross recruits Dr. Death to help intercept a bomb shipment to a warlord in Somalia. On the ship, Ross assures Christmas that Doc Death is a reliable medic and a valuable member of the team. After the successful mission, Ross reveals they're not heading home, they're on a mission to stop a dealer named Victor Mins from delivering thermobaric bombs. The Expendables reunite with Hail Caesar, who guides them to the drop point in Somalia. Later, they start chasing the leader on the ship and gradually take down the guards. Ross is shocked to discover that the person supplying the bombs is Conrad Stonebanks, a former co-founder of the Expendables who went rogue and was thought to be dead. In the ensuing battle, they eliminate all the men and pursue Stonebanks, but he shoots Caesar twice and drops a glide bomb from his helicopter, forcing them to retreat. Sadly, Caesar is badly hurt. Back in the United States, Ross and the Expendables visit the critically injured Caesar in the hospital. Inside the hospital room, Ross leaves a ring by his bedside for good luck and a speedy recovery. Afterward, as Ross is leaving the room, Arnold advises him to stay out of business, but Ross disagrees and walks out of the hospital. As Ross exits the hospital, Max Drummer, the new mission manager for the Expendables, meets him. Drummer introduces himself, informing Ross that Church is no longer in the picture. Later, Ross informs Drummer that Church mentioned the target as Victor, Minnesota, but his real name is Stonebanks. Drummer doesn't care about the name, he just wants to capture him. He assigns Ross the mission to bring Stonebanks to the International Criminal Court for war crimes. Afterward, Ross talks with the Expendables, blaming himself for Caesar's injuries. He expresses that they're no longer the future, unfortunately, they're already part of the past. Christmas questions if Ross is leading somewhere with his talk. Ross explains he can't take them with him, and they should change things. Regrettably, Ross disbands the Expendables and leaves the bar. Christmas tries to persuade Ross to reconsider, but he is unsuccessful. Ross heads to Las Vegas, where he recruits retired mercenary turned recruiter Bonaparte to help assemble a new team of younger mercenaries. Without hesitation, Bonaparte guides Ross to form his new team. Bonaparte joins Ross on a trip to introduce potential team members in different places. Ross's new crew now includes Luna, a nightclub bouncer, and Thorne, a computer expert. In Arizona, they meet Galgo, a skilled sharpshooter who exaggerates his skills, leading Ross to turn him down. Bonaparte heads to Edwards Air Force Base in California to meet Mars, an expert in weapons. The final candidate, Bonaparte, goes to Mexico with Ross to introduce John Smiley, a former U.S. Marine earning money through wrestling. Initially hesitant, John eventually accepts Ross's offer after Ross thinks they are wasting time talking. Later, as Ross is starting his car, Drummer approaches and asks about Ross's vacation. Instead of answering, Ross inquires about Stonebanks. Drummer reveals Stonebanks is in Bucharest, making a deal with Albanian mobsters. Ross has only 36 hours to catch Stonebanks before he goes off the grid. Drummer hands Ross a map showing where Stonebanks will be. The next day, Drummer gives Ross an envelope, mentioning a safe house provided by the agency. The former Expendables meet the new recruits, and a scuffle starts, but Mars intervenes, emphasizing it's just a job. Christmas instructs the veteran Expendables to let it go, but as they leave, John remarks that they're a bunch of old-timers trying to complicate things. Surprisingly, they stop and look at John, with Christian noting that he's young and inexperienced. Despite John's attempt to avoid conflict, Christmas throws a knife at him, and Doc Death mocks him. Later, Christmas advises John to keep the knife for their mission. Ross and the recruits embark on their mission. During the plane journey, John questions Ross about capturing Stonebanks. Initially hesitant, Ross eventually hands over a file to answer John's inquiry. Meanwhile, the former Expendables spend time on their own while Caesar continues to recover. The next day, Ross and the new team kick off their mission by getting into an office building where Stonebanks is staying. Luckily, as Ross signals the team, they catch Stonebanks' attention. After that, Ross discusses the plan with the recruits on how to capture Stonebanks. Thorne shares his strategy. First, he'll hack the central server of the security grid, bypass motion detectors, and biometric sensors. Then, he'll override surveillance systems to get them in. Fortunately, Ross approves, and their mission begins. Later that night, they infiltrate the office building, having to deal with a few men on the way. Thorne updates Ross that the buyer is in the building. The new recruits continue sniping guards while Stonebanks talks with Yoron Vada. Ross instructs his team to position themselves and take down everyone, including Yoron Vada's buyer. Luckily, Luna manages to capture Stonebanks. During transit, Stonebanks taunts Ross and explains why he betrayed the Expendables. Ross speaks up, telling Stonebanks that he'll break every bone in his body and drop him off at The Hague once they stop. Stonebanks laughs, repeats The Hague, and challenges Ross, asking if he can deliver him like a package. Ross stays silent. Stonebanks exposes Ross's involvement in forming the Expendables and the marks they've made. He claims Ross hired his team and the entire gang to capture him but ended up killing their colleagues to stop Stonebanks' dark business. Losing control, Ross almost attacks Stonebanks to silence him, but despite Stonebanks provoking him, Ross backs down. Unfortunately, Stonebanks activates his GPS tracker. Stonebanks' men catch up, firing a missile at the team's van. The impact throws Ross into a river due to Stonebanks' weapon, and Stonebanks' crew captures Smiley, Luna, Thorne, and Mars. Stonebanks then orders his men to locate Ross. Ross takes out Stonebanks' retrieval team, escaping on the river. Afterward, he finds himself in an abandoned place, discovers one of his men, and leads him to their plane. As Ross navigates the ship, Stonebanks sends him a video, throwing down the challenge to pursue him and revealing his whereabouts in Afghanistan. In the distressing footage, Ross witnesses his recruits bound and helpless. Stonebanks issues a time limit, giving Ross only 48 hours to rescue them. Preparing to embark on a solo rescue mission, Ross is surprised when Galgo approaches, offering his services once again. Fortunately, Ross agrees. As Ross starts up the planes, his original Expendables emerge, expressing their intention to accompany him. Perplexed, Ross questions their motives through the window. Christmas responds, stating that Ross got himself into a mess, and they're the only ones crazy enough to get him out of it. With little choice, Ross allows his former team to join him. Upon reaching the designated area, they locate the precise spot where Stonebanks has hidden the recruits. During their journey, Ross queries Galgo about why his previous team let him go, prompting Galgo to share the whole story. Eventually, they discover the location, a deserted 8-story building devoid of enemy guards. After a while, they locate the young mercenaries and initiate their rescue, only to realize from Stonebanks that he has rigged the place with explosives, leaving them with a mere 45 seconds to escape. Thorne swiftly takes charge to ensure their survival. Thorne skillfully deploys a jammer device, extending their time to just under half an hour before the explosives detonate. Surprisingly, Stonebanks responds by instructing the Afghanistan army to launch a full-scale attack on the building, deploying tanks and attack helicopters. While Thorne successfully disrupts the device, Doc Death alerts the Expendables to the approaching enemies. In a sudden twist, both the young and veteran Expendables find themselves in conflict. Ross persuades them to unite against Stonebanks, and fortunately, they all agree. Following this, Ross outlines the plan, dividing into small groups and escaping through the ground floor. As they maneuver, the Afghanistan army initiates their invasion. Soon after, the battle commences, with the Expendables unleashing firepower to fend off the adversaries. During the intense fight, Smiley nearly tumbles into a hole engulfed in flames, but he swiftly secures a rope to prevent a fall. Unexpectedly, Drummer and Trench arrive in a helicopter for support, joined by the returning Expendable member Yin Yang. The new and veteran Expendables collaborate, working in tandem to eliminate Stonebanks' forces. While Drummer successfully thwarts Stonebanks' helicopter, Gunner and Smiley seize control of an Afghanistan tank to eliminate the remaining enemies. Simultaneously, Doc Death and Christmas grapple with adversaries inside the building. As a second wave approaches, Smiley notifies Ross of reinforcements. Ross promptly contacts Drummer about the incoming wave, leading Drummer to land on the building for team evacuation. Ross instructs everyone to reach the rooftop urgently. As the team rushes to the rooftop to board Drummer's chopper, Stonebanks personally confronts Ross after shooting him down. Unfortunately, Ross sustains a gunshot, but Stonebanks challenges him to conclude the battle. Meanwhile, Drummer attempts to radio Ross, the crucial missing link. Regrettably, no messages are received from Ross. In the midst of this, Stonebanks insists that Ross discard his armor, desiring to make him feel the impact of the gun directly on his body. Forced to remove both armor and weapon, Ross engages in hand-to-hand combat with Stonebanks, despite being shot. Ignoring Christmas' message to board the chopper, Ross continues the intense fight against Stonebanks. As the fight intensifies, Smiley urgently warns that the battery is down to just 1%. Despite the challenge, Ross remains locked in combat with Stonebanks. In a closely matched struggle, Ross manages to knock down Stonebanks before they both reach for their guns. Ross gains the upper hand, thwarting Stonebanks' attempt to shoot. Moments later, Stonebanks queries Ross about delivering him to the International Criminal Court, but Ross stoically ends him with a gunshot. With Thorne's device running out of battery, Ross swiftly moves away, witnessing the bombs explode inside the building. Upon reaching the rooftop, everyone believes Ross is lost as the building completely detonates. However, as the chopper moves, they spot Ross holding onto the rope tied to the helicopter. The team boards Drummer's helicopter, flying to safety with Ross clinging to the outside. The movie concludes with the Expendables celebrating at the bar. Caesar recovers from his wounds, and Ross officially welcomes Smiley, Luna, Thorne, and Mars into the team. Drummer informs Ross that Stonebanks wasn't taken to The Hague, but Ross expresses that working with him wasn't that bad and shakes hands. Later, Galgo approaches Ross, convincing him to join his team again. Ross playfully silences him and says, "Welcome aboard," marking his official inclusion as a team member. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Take care.